Welcome back, everybody. Thought we'd go over another Christmas present I got. Something people have been wanting to know about, and that is build cards. Got a few of them. My brother and his family were nice enough to get me. And you're probably wondering, what is a build card? Let's see, get her close there. Starting with the Super Series of Olivers, when a tractor would go down the assembly line, they had these, they're an IBM punch card. This is two sides of the same card that they send you from the museum when you get a copy. And it's an IBM punch card. So all these numbers are basically for human eyes, and the holes are for the computer, and they correlate to different numbers. So they're like, here, they got a 1 punched out, then a 6, because this is a 1600. And so when they'd feed the card through the machine, little metal contacts could make contact through the holes, and that would tell the computer, okay, this hole's a 1, this hole's a 6, this hole is a 0, so on and so forth. And then with that, they could keep track. There were actually several build cards made for each tractor. Some for the guys that had to order parts. You know, they'd run the build cards through, and then the computer would tell them, okay, you need this many 1/2 inch by 3/4 bolts. You need this many 3-point hitch arms. And that way they could make sure everything was procured in time for the assembly line. These different ones, most of them are gone now. And the blue copy, you can see the blue at the top here, was the one that finally went down the finally went into records and went down the assembly line with a tractor. If you look real close, you can see little green speckles of paint on the card, and it would follow the tractor down the line. It'd be in a plastic bag, but sometimes the paint would get through and get on there. So it's pretty common to see paint on there. So if you had a tractor that was painted a special color, or maybe cockshot red, you'd see red on it. For today's example of build card, since I just recently got it, is the build card, not the tractor, is the 1600 front wheel assist I've got. And first thing you need to know to get your build card is what your serial number is, which is on your tag. And you got your top line. Got your top line, that is your specification number. And then your second line there is your serial number, followed by a 3-digit code. There's your transmission code. And all those numbers will tell you something. Some of them we're still trying to figure out. Other ones, or most of them we know though. But for some reason or another, I had myself so convinced in my head that this 1600 had 15.538s on it, which was a option for front wheel assist tractors with these front size tires. I ordered a set, and fortunately they're on back order, because then I get the build card for Christmas and I'm leafing through, and it says it was originally built with 16.934s. I'm like, well, someone switched to wheels, because I was sure they were 38s. And by golly, I came out here and look at that, 16.934s. Fortunately, with the 38s being on back order, I was able to cancel that and switch it out for the right tire. And they're even gonna, even though I had the right size for the front, I'm swapping those for a matching set to the rear, because, well, that's the way it needs to be. So what all do you get when you get a build card from the Floyd County Museum, which you can get their information, floydcountymuseum.org. There'll be a link in the description. You get this nice certificate that is frameable, heavy stock paper. Tells you who it's registered to, what model, of course the serial number that you provide for them in order to look this stuff up. They do also, for an extra fee, if your serial tag is missing, you can look up the engine serial number, which is usually on the side of the block, either by this just under the generator or alternator, or on the right rear corner just above the motor mount bolt going vertically. And you can give them that engine number and they will do a search for that engine serial number and find out what tractor it was installed in. Ain't necessarily a guarantee that's your tractor, but it's a good chance. Specification number, that's what's on your serial tag. That tells a lot. Like for instance, 1600s all started with 16s, and then the next 2 digits tells us a lot about it. In this case, this one's an ag 4-wheel drive, so the next digit is 8, and that can't be right because it's a gas tractor. Yep, typo on their part, because the build card says 81. This should be 8108, and they put 8208. I might have to get a hold of them about that, because 2 is diesel engine, and I know my tractor's gas, and I can see on the build card here that it is gas. And 08 are other options, and we haven't gotten that all figured out. They'll tell you this is the day it rolled off the assembly line, December 18th, 1963, and then it was later shipped January 6th of 1964, shipped to New York Mills, New York. Now, where do they get that info? Off this build card. Like I say, these are 2 sides of one card I have here. This is actually, oops. This is a parts card, but they use the same system. As you can see, there's holes in it for the metal contactors. So if this was a real tractor build card, it'd have the numbers on one side and then the written information on the back side. So on later ones, they start getting over here because they widen these out. Most of these, like on the 1600, these are all 2-digit codes. When you got into the 50 series, they started making some 3-digit codes because there was getting to be more and more options, and 2 digits just did not cover all the options. So then they started getting over here. So the first 5 numbers, or 6 or 7, depending on how new the tractor is, are your specification, which is also the number that's on your serial tag. This one is 168108. I can confirm that by seeing where the numbers are punched out down here, in case this ain't very legible. Like I said, 1600. Super 66s were also 16 and 26. And I think that's part of the reason they started going to a 3-digit specification number, because 1650s were 165, and then 265 when they made some improvements later, 365 and 465. So to eliminate that confusion, they went to 3 digits. Next digit, 8, front wheel assist, agricultural, which I knew that, pretty obvious. Second, or the digit after the 8 is 1, that should be a gas engine. And then 08 is other options. Like I said, I haven't really gotten that figured out. So your A code, a lot of this is easy to figure out. Let's grab a parts book from behind the old parts counter here, and I'll show you what I mean. This one's got a couple of pages that are ripped free. But if you look at any parts book that's got the old tabs, or even if you just look at the pages, Group A, style. And that's the stuff that tells you what's what. And it's the same, you know, this is how they build them going down the line. And they knew Group B, engine. Let them know what engine to put in. Transmission. Power takeoff, Group E. Group F, power lift, also known as hydraulics. G is your tires and wheels servicing. I don't think they put H and I in because they basically fell under Group G, so you don't, there's some, and then same with what, L, KL, and M for front wheel stuff. O is your electrical. P, your 3-point hitch, your drawbar. Q is your clutch, and if you had a hydropower or over under, it'd be coded in there. R is rear axles. T, accessories. Oops, the T, accessories. U is your steering, which includes your front axle, so if you're 4-wheel drive, all that stuff. Poor judgment results in accidents. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from poor judgment. So yeah, your parts book kind of gives you the rundown on how they put the tractors together and how they're coded. They stuck with that for quite a while, and they stopped eventually calling them A, B, C and stuff, but they still build them in that order and put the parts books together in that order by and large. As we said, you look in a parts book and everything's by sections. A is style, and that's what this tells. A, we got a code of 89, which through my research I know is also a 1600 front wheel assist painted green. If it was a red one, it would be a different code, and I will put that on the screen because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do have it. So say an ag 2-wheel drive wide front would have a different code. I've got the code for that. I'll put that on the screen because I've got another 1600. I've got a 1600 industrial. I'll put that code on the screen. But the A would tell them what they're building, whether it was a cockshut, whether it was an Oliver, whether it was a wide front, narrow front, a 4-wheel drive, or industrial. And if this is 099 or any of these, that's their code for special order. And it could be anything. 099 in this A column could be a different paint color. It could just be about anything. Could even be an experimental tractor or just some kind of special tractor. It's something special that they didn't normally do. And rather than come up with a new code for something they're only going to do a couple times, they just put 99 or 099 if it's a 3-digit. Next column is B, and that is 69. Now, I know that's gas, but also when they send you this, oh look, there's the chart. I forgot. They will send you a nice sheet like this that has the code spelled out. Sometimes they'll send you the old dealer price sheets, a copy. And what they do is they go through and they highlight. Whatever one is highlighted is your code that's on the card. And that tells you, and this has all been compiled by Dwayne Starr. Thank you, Dwayne, for all your hard work on this. So you'll get this sheet with it, or a comparable one, and your codes will be highlighted. So we see 69 on the card. That would let the guys on the line know, okay, this is a gas tractor. And so they would get the appropriate engine. Code 70 gas with a reverser torque. It had a different flywheel on it, so it got a different engine code. Same with diesel, reverser torque, and then LP. I'm guessing they never put a reverser torque behind an LP, or we just haven't found the code for that yet. Code C, your transmission and final drives. So, and what you would do on most of the models is add a 3rd digit. You'll see on your serial number card, like a regular standard speed transmission without, or a hydropower on a 1600 would be 602. Row crop wheatland or rice field. Standard speed transmission, no auxiliary drive for row crop utility would be 604. So chances are, usually it was like the model, the main number of the model. So 1600s transmission started with a 6, 1800s transmission started with a 9, 1900s transmission started with a 9. And then, so you'll see this corresponds to whatever's on your serial number tag, the 3 digits after the serial number. Mine is 692, which is the transmission for front wheel assist, agricultural. You'd think industrial would be the same, but they ran a different ring and pinion ratio because industrials ran shorter wheels, and so they needed to speed the ground speed back up because of that. Belt pulley, 00. It was getting to be pretty much a non-existent option at that point. It was an option. So essentially, if you see something besides 00, you probably had a belt pulley installed, which on a 1600 would actually be mounted on the PTO unit. Code 59 on my card, E59, you can figure that out there. It's a 540 RPM PTO unit. And it just keeps going on and on. My F code's 22, so I had draft control hydraulics, hydroelectric with 3-point hitch, row crop and wheatland, so either one. Now here's the revelation I had on Christmas. Day after Christmas is when we did this, but I'm looking and it's marked 16934. And as I said earlier, I could have sworn those were 15.538s. And so my first thought is someone had switched them. And, well, nope, they were actually 16.934. So thank goodness this build card came in when it did. I was able to switch my order. And I thought maybe it was a typo or something, but no, it's got the right code for a 34-inch wheel, because you got to have a cast iron center or a pressed steel rim for 34-inch. So H code is your 86 for my 1600. Rear rims, which is actual, if you have pressed steel, your I code is going to be 00, because it's all included in the H code, since a pressed steel rim is all welded together. But if you have cast centers, then the rim is a separate piece, and there's several 34-inch rims could fit on a 34-inch center, so you wanted different codes for each. J was rear wheel weights. It shows 00, even though there's some on there, so they must have been added on. And rear wheel weights, if they were installed at the factory, they would be on the inside of the wheel. If they were to be installed on the outside, they'd be shipped separately, and the dealer had to install them. But since he had to take the wheels off to put wheels on the or weights on the inside, they would install those at the factory. And as it says here, mounted on the inside. Front tires, 13.624s, which is what it's got. Thank goodness I got that part right. That was a pretty common size for front wheel assist. Code 87, that tells them that they needed, it was a front wheel assist, so they needed to put the front wheel assist Clark axle under there. And you get into later tractors, there were several ring and pinion ratios available for front axles. So you'd see several in here, and that just, it might not be spelled out in this list you get, but the different codes are for the different ratios in the differential on the front axle. V, your rear mounted allied equipment. That was essentially aftermarket stuff that Aller didn't make, like backhoes, other industrial equipment. So most of the time you're going to see 00 in your V code. W, that's all your tin work, your sheet metal, dash and controls. Code 94 for mechanical front wheel drive gas. Well, there was choke cable and oh, let's see, had to have the knob for the hydropower. So there was differences in the dash work and stuff, and the decals. So those got different codes. Front mounted allied equipment, be a loader or forklift or something like that. And so mostly industrial stuff, roll bar and cab. There'd be some kind of code there. This one did not have a code, or I have this one did not have a cab installed. And you got your battery code that tells you what batteries were installed or not installed. That's kind of the breakdown of the build codes, how they work. Here's a price sheet that comes with it, and this is kind of neat because you can look up and see down here at the bottom. Let me just hold this still. This is a 1965 price sheet, which they discontinued the 1600 by that time, but they still had some available. They built them and they were still on the lot, and they wanted to get them moved, so you put them in the price book, and they had them discounted some to get dealers to move them. So a 1600 like mine, they're only showing one axle option. So I had 13.6 and 16.934, so that's this 16-8102. Mine's at 8108, which isn't listed here, so that means my options were changed from this base option. List price, $6,673. And the tractor base weight was 7,284 pounds. Now these other numbers you might wonder, like here, A513820. All you had to do was take the letter out, and that was not that way on pretty much all of them. Sometimes they put the letter in the middle or the end or something, just part way in there. This is the dealer cost on it. So dealer cost on this was $5,359.05. Now I'd let the dealer know, okay, this is how much room I got, wiggle room for haggling before I start losing money. And every item in here, pretty much every item had a weight. how much it weighed if it added to it, diesel engine versus gas engine. And this is where we found some of the build codes, like right here, diesel engine is code B71, LP engine B73. So you go through this stuff and you can option out, and it on your first page here, all this stuff up here is your base, in your base price. Let's see, weather cap, antifreeze, wide swing and drawbar. Let's see, does it include power or hydropower? Transmission, 6 speeds forward, standard clutch. Now I am not seeing hydropower listed right off. Adjustable wheel tread. So I don't even think 3-point hitch is in this base price by the looks. So then you would go to the next page, and this is what the dealer would do back in the day when they were pricing up. The customer, you go through the list, and obviously you want batteries, or maybe you don't. You got some own, or some of your own, or some you don't like the brand Oliver uses. Often on build cards, you'll see special notes on the back or on the front, Firestone tires, and the customer requested that they wanted Firestone or Goodyear or BF Goodrich. The dealer would go through and write this stuff down, and like hydropower drive on a row crop wheatland or rice field with hydraulics would add $343. We'd add another 100 pounds of weight to the tractor, and the dealer knew his cost on that was another $264.10. So it could once again add it up either in his head or somehow or another to figure out what his haggle room was. Let's see, T25. I'm surprised it actually has that. There's a lot of things that can be coded in the T code. A lot of your options, air cleaner options, block heater, stuff like that. Some of the front weights were in there. So this must not have had a lot of others, because T25 is what it shows, which is the upholstered seat in place of a pan type. I can't say I've ever seen a 1600 with a pan type, but they're probably out there. Like here, if you didn't want power takeoff, it'd tell you to deduct. It'd make the tractor 110 pounds lighter, and you could take off 147 bucks. And it didn't tell you what the dealer cost on that was. This is interesting though. Rear wheel guards and lights. These are your fenders. And this is, because it's highlighted here, this is the what the tractor was optioned with. And that's basically your regular fenders. O18, S25. O is on your build card. That's your fenders. S is your lights. Here's your hydraulics units. They were always the F code. Let's see, yep. 3-point hitch with drawbar for field installation. But code P32, which is what it had. Pre-cleaner, yep, see here, the pre-cleaner screener, which this one's just got the basic cap. That's field installed, but that's T152. A coolant heater, T157. So there could be a lot of T codes, and so them have been kind of hard for us to figure out. Right here it's showing it was equipped with 13.6 24 front wheels, and how much that was a $320 option. The rear tires 16.9 34 6 plies, which rims, which centers, and $681 option there. And other odds and ends, more wheel options. So that's why they send this with you, so you can go through and add up what your tractor would have cost. So we go back to the build card here, and this is the back side of it. So there was a lot of information on here. This is the serial number of the tractor. As it went down the line, they signed it a serial number, 140211, and the 692, the 3 digits after your serial number are your transmission code, which starts with a 6 because it's a 1600. And then the build card says C92, and there's your 92. Next number here is 56620. That's the engine serial number, which, like I said earlier, it's stamped on the side of the block, either up by the cam, the low, just under the generator or alternator, depending on what's on there. where the engine curves out for the camshaft, or back by the right rear motor mount going vertically up along the casting. And it's stamped in, not cast in. F294. Sometimes there's a couple of different odd numbers with combinations in there. I think this is the order number, but they'd have a couple of just randomly, it looked random, but they were, some of them were order numbers that came from the branch warehouse, because once, how it worked is the dealer would sit down with the customer, come up with his order, write it all down, hammer out a price, they agree on their deal. So then dealer calls his territory rep and says, I got an order, here's what all I need. And he sends it off to the branch warehouse that services their area. For us, when this tractor was built, it probably was, I think Lansing was closed by that point. So it would have been Columbus, Ohio for us. So they call a branch warehouse. We're at branch warehouse. They're the ones that put together all the A, B, C through Z codes to how the factory is supposed to be going to equip it, and then send it into the factory. The factory approves it, and it gets sent to the line and all the different divisions that need it for billing and parts procurement and all that. There were pink ones, there were green ones. The blue one was always the one that ended up on the tractor. And so those numbers would be written in here. So you might see more numbers, you might not. This end, usually, like this says stock, and right below here, we'll go right here, New York Mills, New York. This is where the tractor was shipped to. Now sometimes you'll see two cities on there, and usually on this end is the branch warehouse. Well, this one was stock, so that means, and there was a branch warehouse in New York Mills, New York, upstate New York. And so this one was just shipped there to have on hand for when a dealer would eventually order one. It must have been a popular model in that area for them to basically send it on speculation that they were going to sell one. Stock tractor that was not sent directly to a dealer sat in New York Mills for who knows how long, and this doesn't tell me which dealer or eventually sold it, because once the tractor left the factory, the card was not modified at all. If the tractor was modified before it left the factory, they would pull it back in. They would note on the backside what changes were made. Maybe if they just changed tires or something, the spec number would change, and so they would write what the old spec number was, on it, and then either create a new card or just change a couple of things on the old card. But once it left the factory, the card did not get changed anymore. So the way it is on here is how it was when it left Charles City. It was built on December 18th of 63, like they had on the main page there. And down here is the ship date of 1/6/64, January 6th of 64. And then there's a number here that was always in the lower right hand corner. This one looks like it's 790. They would build these in lot numbers, and that means this was the 790th tractor, the 1600 in its lot, and that's all 1600s, whether it was two-wheel drive or cockshut or industrial. All those, they kept track of what it was in its production run. Here's my forklift, which we bought new, and something we did, it must have been one they already built, had there, and they say 550 244 FL, which 244 was the industrial version of a 550, and FL makes it a forklift. It was a 515. 515 is a code for forklift. 7 when your digit after the first three there or after the dash is a 7, that's a forklift. 1 gas engine, 018 or other options. So at some point it was changed before it was shipped to us. But it does say stock on this side. So the way I understand it, White decided to do one last run of industrial stuff before they discontinued the line. And so must be, we changed something on it. Could be the mast height. It shows it was built with a 10-foot mast. And I guess I'd have to measure, but that does seem about right. Serial number, engine serial number, build date, lot number, ship date November 17th. So it was there for a while. Built April 1st of 75, didn't get shipped until November 17th. Later ones, the numbers, how some of them are 3 digits, opened up for more options, and that made them have to shift the model number down here. So you'll see holes over in here that don't correspond to, or they're not over numbers, but if you look, you follow the column over and the row over, you can tell this is a 6, this is a 6. 685 is a spec number on 1855. Essentially, that was the early 1855s were 585, and then there was 685, and I think that was the last. 485s were late 1850s. So as they kept making improvements to the tractor, they'd up that first digit by 1. But an 85 was always an 18 size tractor, whether it was an 1850 or 1855. 82 shows the ag front wheel assist with a diesel engine, which is what it is. And I haven't checked the engine serial number, but I happen to know that that engine threw a rod at some point and got a new block, so I'm quite confident the engine serial number does not match on the 1855. But that is how you read your build cards. Lots of information to be gleaned from them. Just neat little tidbits about when they were built and the gist of each one is on this nice certificate of ownership that they print up for you. When it was built, when it was shipped, where it was shipped. If you want to get your own build card, like I said, the link is down in the description, floydcountymuseum.org. Really, they're in upstate they're in upstate Iowa. I don't know if anybody's ever said those words together before. But very nice museum. Got a lot going on, a lot of tractors there, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. A nice museum to take the family and visit. So if you're ever in that area, north central Iowa, be sure to stop in and give them a visit. So that's the gist of build cards. If anybody's got any questions, I'm sure I forgot something, or someone will have a question, something I didn't think about. Be sure to comment down below. I'll be glad to help you out the best I can. If you got something odd on your build card, put that in the comments. I'd love to see it. Still trying to figure some of the things out. So the more of them we see, the more of it we can figure out. As always, I appreciate everybody watching, and we will see you in the next one.